Okay. I will talk about drivers of disasters. Then I'll take you to my home Western Ghats. I'll talk about how we can manage the Western Ghats so that you all will have water and air. Then I'll bring you to Bangalore lakes. So I will submerge you all in the polluted lake. Then I'll tell you how to improve the situation. Then what I have done for the society, how I have taken the science for the benefit of society, I'll be talking. This is my latest publication. It's on natural capital accounting and valuation ecosystem services. Now I have a tool to value the worth of a forest or a wetland. You know, people may not recognize you based on what is the contribution as a doctor you have done. Okay, based on the services, what is your worth, the NPV of yourself, if I dare start telling, then people will start appreciating. Okay, same thing I do with the nature. This is a portal where all my publications and all the work is available. You know, the agenda of my science is to ensure that all of you have clean air and water and environment, including your children and grandchildren. Okay, for that we need to do the appropriate decision. That's where the technology helps. Now let us understand why the disasters are happening. Changes in climate is the first right. You know, the data shows the temperature is increasing, and consequence of the temperature is you can see that disasters are increasing, sea level is rising, and coastal population becomes more and more vulnerable. And the floods and drought become quite common. You know, Karnataka faced a green drought last year, and that kind of instances we will repeat it again and again. So then, let us try to understand how the increase in temperature affects our food. Say with 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature, we lose 70% of coral, and by another 0.5 degrees, it becomes 99%. Similarly, if you look at the insect or the plant or the vertebrate, you see that from 6 it goes to the about 18 insects we lose. These are not mosquitoes or such vector-borne disease. This one. I'm talking about the endemic species, like which have the decisive role in pollination, which provide the food, etc. Similarly, if you look at the drought, 350 million population gets affected with 1.5 degrees Celsius will become 4 million population. And sea level rise, 48 centimeter increase with 1.5 degrees Celsius increase in temperature. Another 0.5 degree, they shoots up to 56 centimeters. So that means about 50 million people get affected because of that. So that's why we need to mitigate the changes in climate. The best way is to reduce the fossil fuel based emissions, etc. Now, the prediction also shows that the crop productivity will go down by 60% by 2100. That is going to be serious for all of us. Now, as the doctors, I am sure you will understand this, vector-borne diseases are going to increase in the thing. Chikungunya, dengue, COVID keeps making its appearance. So sometime, I do not know when I talk to the doctors whether it's a good sign or a bad sign. Naturally, a good doctor will not appreciate having these diseases quite often in our system. Okay, now to summarize what I said, we have the food security problem, water security, then the coastal towns become vulnerable, then the public health goes to be affected. Now how we can mitigate? Now my next talk part, I'll take you to the Western Ghats. You know, we all have only one earth. If you look at our scriptures, we have about 8 to 12 million varieties of plants and animals, the species. And in science, we have estimated about 1.5 million species. You know, when I talk about varieties of plants and animals, why do we require them? When you have varieties of plants and animals, you have variety of food. When we have that variety of food, our body gets immunity. That means if we want to be healthy, we need to have the biodiversity in place. So that is where, and I come from Western Ghats. My home constitutes only the 5% of India's geographical area. And if you look at which part of the earth has the highest number of plants and animals, let us move latitudinally. You see that as you move latitudinally, you will see at 8 to 14 degree latitude, you have the highest number of plants and animals. This 8 to 14 degree latitude corresponds to Kerala, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Goa part of Western Ghats. That means some of us have inherited such rich diversity of plants and animals. It's our responsibility to pass on this to our next generation. So let us not be selfish and have it everything for our generation and then give the bad earth to the next generation. So then how do we do that? Let the science helps us. We have launched the satellites way back in 70s. Every 21 or 30 days interval, we get a picture of the Earth. Now, if you analyze the picture of the Earth, you can see what changes are happening. For example, if you have your photograph when you are a kid, and today you can find out what morphological changes have happened in your system. Now, we have launched the satellites, we have put the sensors in that which takes the photograph, and that data we analyze it, and that huge data for the last 50 or 60 is available, which is useful for our analysis. So now this is how the data analysis happens. I will not get into the details. I will be available after my talk. Those of you who are interested, we can discuss further. And we also use the classification. Those pictures will have the gray levels. We need to find out which gray level corresponds to the forest, which corresponds to the houses, etc. That is where we use the machine learning algorithms. And also with this long-term data, we can also do the prediction. You find out what is the pattern of change over the last 5 decades, and with that pattern, we will say what is the likely change. Okay. Now, we have done the analysis for the Western Ghats. From 1985 to 2018, what changes have happened with the big data and with artificial intelligence and machine learning. When I was using my natural intelligence without artificial intelligence for a district to analyze, it used to about 6 to 8 months. Now with machine learning algorithm, my student have completed entire Western Ghats in 6 months. So that means it has empowered us in a better analysis and faster analysis. Now when we do this analysis, you see the green is declining, which means the forest is decreasing. Forest not only decreasing, forest is also getting fragmented, which is going to increase the human-animal conflict, and because of the opening of the canopy, we will have more and more vector-borne diseases. Now, what is the likely scenario in 2031? We will have only 10% of the area under forest in the Western Ghats, evergreen forest, and entire Western Ghats will have only 18% forest cover. And what is the implication of that? We have predicted in 2018, in fact, if you see my writing in 2018, I had predicted when I wrote this article, there is likely to be the floods and situation in Kerala and Karnataka. And 2019 it happened. What was we said that the temperature will increase by 1.5 degrees Celsius in Kerala, and the rainfall pattern will change. Rainfall which is for a longer period in Kerala, you will start having for the shorter period. The same quantum of rain, if you get in a shorter period, you have high intensity rainfall. Because of the high intensity rainfall, you will have the instances of landslides and mudslides. That's what happened in Madikeri, and a large number of people were killed. And why not it happened? So the 2019 when landslide happened, people looked at my article and started approaching me saying that, okay, we need to do something so that this doesn't recur. But public memory is too short. After 2 months, people have forgotten what they are supposed to do. And last year again, the recently Wayanad faced a severe crisis, and 150 families washed away because of the landslides and mudslides. That is where ecologically fragile region has to be protected for the benefit of the people who are residing there. Now, how do you value the services of the ecosystem? The ecosystem gives the provisioning services, the tangible benefit like timber, fuel wood, etc. You find out what is the quantity and what is the residual value of that. And similarly, you find out regulating services and cultural services. The aggregation of this gives the total ecosystem supply value, which tells you what is the worth of the forest in the system. Now, we have done the quantification of the carbon. Carbon stored in the above ground, below ground, and in the soil. This gives the total carbon. And every year what carbon gets added into the system we had looked at. See, we all breathe, we give out carbon dioxide. This is taken by the plant. When we breathe out, every day we go out 540 to 980 grams per person per day. Younger people 980 grams and the senior people 540 grams per day. 1 hectare of vegetation takes away the carbon to an extent of 8 to 9 tons. By that ratio, you need to have for every person, say 7 to 8 trees. But what we have is different. Now, how much carbon the forest in the Western Ghats has held? 1.23 million gigagram, and it stores about 37,000 million gigagram every year. This amounts to the carbon that is emitted in the towns like Cochin, Trivandrum, Bengaluru, etc. And if you look at the economic value of that, it amounts to about 100 billion rupees or $1.4 billion. Now, let us look at the other aspect. Other service provided by the forest is the water. See, this is the region where water was there. In the same region now, when I visit now, I do not have water. If you look at what is the reason for that, we have done the analysis to find out how the changes happened. In this region, we have lost the forest, and in this region forest continues to be there. What we did is we did a hydrological investigation to find out when it rains how much water get infiltrated in the region dominated by forest cover or by the urban building or by the agriculture area. Like that 32 location we selected for the analysis for 36 months. And our study shows, wherever these are the region where 12 months water is available. Here 8 months, here it is 6 months, is 4 months. You just overlay the vegetation cover. Wherever native species forests are there, 12 months water is available. Wherever forests are fragmented, depending on scale of fragmentation, we have 8 to 6 months water. Where the forest cover is less than 30%, we have only 4 months of water. Now, if you look at the demand in this region, the forest cover is good, 60 to 70% of the rainfall get infiltrated, and it meets the demand of the society for the agriculture, horticulture, fish rearing, etc. And in this region, in the name of development, we change the forest into the agriculture land, etc. You see there is a demand for water, but there is no water. Now, more importantly, in this region, since the water is available throughout the year, people can grow multiple crop or a cash crop. And their earning is about 1,54,000 rupees per acre per year. Whereas in this region, where the water is available only for 4 to 6 months, they can grow only one crop. Their earning is 32,000 rupees per acre per year. And other thing is, our study brings out is here the yield of the crop. For example, paddy, if you look at it, is 14 to 18 quintal per acre, whereas here it is 6 to 8 quintal per acre. If you want to understand why it is, because here pollinators are abundant, because the pollination become efficient, with that yield of the crop is higher. The pollination is efficient because the forest is there with the pollinators. And here pollination is not that efficient, yield of the crop is 6 to 8 quintal per acre. Now Government of India want to double the income of the farmers. My simple solution is maintain the integrity of the forest. We have water, we have pollinator, and we have our livelihood. Okay. Now let us try to understand how it benefits the society. I come across the 2 species of fish in this region, which has a medicinal property, which is good for bronchitis and asthma disease. I thought that if I culture it in my lab in Bengaluru, I can make money. But when I cultured it in my lab, when I analyzed the medicinal property, none of them had a medicinal property like Bangaloreans. So that means if it has to have medicine, you need to culture it in its habitat. For that, it has to have water throughout the year, and for that to have water throughout the year, it should have a forest in its watershed area. That brings out the link between the aquatic diversity with the terrestrial diversity. Now with the changes in climate, we all know what is the implication. We will not have water on the earth. When there is no water, none of us will survive, whether we have natural intelligence or artificial intelligence. But what will happen with the organism, let us try to understand through one of the example, frog. Frog has 2 stages in its life cycle. First stage is a juvenile stage or a tadpole stage. We require the water. Next stage is the adult stage, which is on the land. That's why we call them as amphibian. If there is no water, what will happen to the frog? Frog cannot survive because the tadpole stage cannot happen. But in a drier area, we come across a species where the younger ones were there. When we probe that, the Philatus leucorinus, after fertilization of the egg, we saw the younger ones emerging out, bypassing the tadpole stage. That means it has learned how to get adapted to the situation where there is no water. So that means animals know how to get adapted. See, when we talk about climate change, the 2 terms we use, the mitigation and adaptation, animals have learned how to get adapted. Whatever our supremacy, artificial, we will not succeed, we will pay the price. Best thing is, let us mitigate the changes in climate. I thought that this should go to the decision making. That's where we develop the decision support system, integrating all this data, what we have got for the Western Ghats at the grid level, 5 minutes by 5 minutes grid. We integrate all the data and we map the region which are ecologically sensitive. This is the portal where you can visualize which village in Western Ghats is ecologically sensitive, why it is. So that kind of assessment you can do it. This helps in advocacy and decision making. Okay. Now, earlier our elders thought about these linkages of the forest and the water. That's why they conserve the forest and they called it as Devarakadu, or sacred forest, or Kans, or cows. Those who do not believe God, they place the Daityas in that forest and they said Daitya Kadu, so that at least the protection of the forest happens. So now, you might have seen Shiva, Lord Shiva with the hair on his head, because of that only the water is there. Shiva's head with the hair means the forest on the earth. Okay, now to summarize what I said so far, as long as Mother Earth is covered with a green saree of native species, we will have water on the earth and we will all survive. When we convert that green saree of native species or degrade it to the forest cover less than 30%, we will not have water on the earth and we will pay the heavy price. Let us try to understand the sustainability in a simple way. How this the indigenous people. See, when I asked this lady, she collects the biogas, bucket full of biogas every day. My curiosity is why only one bucket? She told me that, sir, when I sell it in a market, I get 350 rupees, which is sufficient for me to run my family today. So that's why she doesn't go for the second bucket. She said, tomorrow I will collect the second bucket. But in our case, what happens with the Bengaluru? We think of our unborn great-grandchild also amongst the wealth. Okay, now let me come to the Bangalore. I have been talking about Bangalore. You know, the undulating terrain of Bangalore, we had interconnected lakes, you know. That is how the interconnectivity among the, earlier the river was passing, stream was passing, our elders put the bunds at regular interval and converted the flowing water into the stagnant water body to meet the domestic and irrigation requirement. And why the lakes are required? When the lakes were there, people were getting the water in the wells at about 60 to 100 feet. When the lake was removed in 6 years, it went down to 600 feet. And 24 years now, they have gone down to the 1800 feet. There is no water in the place. You can go to Nakshati, India and find out that, okay? And you can ask me, will it change if I rejuvenate the lake? For example, Sarki Lake was rejuvenated recently. I was a member of the committee. Within a year of rejuvenation, the groundwater table went up by 320 feet. Last year, when entire Bangalore was facing water crisis and temperature, increased temperature, in Sarki Lake, water was there in the lake. Groundwater table is less than 500 feet, and because of high moisture content, temperature in that region was 2 degrees lower. That's how the moderation of the thing happens, okay? Now let us try to understand what is the worth of a lake. When the lake is clean, it gives us a fish, fodder, etc. to an extent of 10,500 rupees per day per hectare. When we pollute the lake, it comes down to 20 rupees per day per hectare. That's why if you pollute the lake, who are affected? People who depend on the lake, or the fishermen, the farmers, and people like me who do the same. And who are the people who pollute the lake, elite section of the society, who do not know how to manage the solid and liquid waste. And now what is the threat of wetlands in Bangalore? You know, unplanned, irresponsible urbanization. You know how that 68% green cover in 70s, today 2025, 85% is the red are the buildings. Everywhere only buildings are there. Naturally, we have more and more diseases also in the system. And we have oxygen deficiency, groundwater depletion is there in the region. And if you look at the trees in Bangalore, we did a quantification. We have about 1.5 million trees are there for population of about 9.5 million, the stable population. That means for every person, for every 7% there is one tree. What is required is for every person 7 trees, but what we have is the reverse situation. That's why there is an oxygen deficiency in the region. Now, how many lakes we lost? We mapped that. 756 lakes in 73 has come down to the 260. That means we have swallowed 540 lakes in Bangalore over the last, after independence, you know, the 5 decades we have lost this many lakes, 79% of the lake. And I thought this should go to the decision making. I developed the Bangalore Urban Information System so that people will know what are the consequences of urbanization. You can sit at your home and you can go through my webpage to find out what changes are happening, what needs to be done to the Bangalore. So now the emission, if you look at the emission across the 10 cities, we did the study, the cities where the public transport is big, the emission from the transportation sector is higher to the extent of 54% and to the extent of about 46% in Bangalore and Hyderabad 54%. Look at this architecture. I do not know why this architecture has come to the Bangalore. This is meant for the temperate climate, cold climate. To get the thermal comfort, you are supposed to have this architecture. Our fellows, the architects, went to those countries. They did a copy and pasted it in Bangalore environment. Implication of that, when I did the study, in the normal building, the electricity consumption is about 750 to 1,400 units per person per year. Whereas in this glass facade building, is 14,000 to 17,000 units per person per year. See, one copy makes this one. See, every person end up using more electricity for their comfort, okay? So that means Bangalore is emitting more and more greenhouse gases, okay? And temperature in the city, what was 21 degrees in 92 became 24 degrees in 2000 or 28 degrees in 2010. Today it's about 38 degrees. If you move from the center of the city, wherever lakes are there or wherever parks are there, temperature is 2 degrees lower, which shows that the vegetation and the water bodies acts as the heat sink, okay? Now, when you remove that, you have the floods in the region, and of course the frothing and the fire in the region shows the pollution in the lake. You know, what is the solution for the frothing? You need to treat the sewage or remove the contaminant. What our babus have done, they put the barricades. They thought that if the flood is not coming to the road, the people will not notice it. But I wrote an article saying that that's not a solution, scientific solution. We need to treat the disaster. But unfortunately, by the time they had spent 2 crores on that. Okay. Now let us look at if the lake is polluted, how it affects every one of us. You know, people grow the vegetable in the downstream, and the fish in the lake comes to the Bengaluru market. When I analyze the fish and vegetable which is from this region, all of them had heavy metal. The presence of heavy metal in our food is crippling our health. The cancer and kidney failure is increasing. Bangalore is number 1 as far as cancer is concerned. You all know about it. Kidney failure, which was 1 in 1 lakh about 12 years back, today in 1 in 5,000. Every ward has the dialysis unit. Okay, that's how the city has become. That is the greatest disaster. Risk of the polluting the lake is that our children are paying the heavy price. You know, irrespective of the age, everyone is having the kidney problem. Okay, so now, what is the solution? I said we have to rejuvenate the lake. That's where my report went to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court penalized the government of Karnataka 500 crore. I had prescribed only 2 things. One is decontaminating the lake and arresting the contaminant entering the lake. You know, to decontaminate the lake, you have to remove the silt. We did a quantification how much silt is there in the lake. We analyzed Bengaluru and Vartur lake, and also we looked at what is the quality of the silt. When I analyze the silt of the lake, it's about 11 million cubic meter of the silt is there, huge amount. And when I look at the quality, there is no heavy metal in the Vartur lake. What I did as a member of the National Green Tribunal is, I had a meeting with farmers in the locality. I gave this silt to the farmers in the locality. You know, the farmers took it, and they said that if you are telling, then we will accept the thing. And after 3 months, when I visited them, each one had a bumper crop. They told me that they got the additional benefit of 1.5 lakh per acre because of this. This is the what we have to do in every villages. If you are a prosperous doctor, please go back to your village and rejuvenate the lake in your village by simple desilting mechanism. You have solved the water problem in your village. Okay, so now I thought this data should be available online. My students have monitored all lakes in Bengaluru. All the data I have put it online. You know, that is called Bengaluru Lake Information System. With the details of the algae, with the details of the fish in the lake, and what is the worth of the lake and how much encroachment has happened. All this data, which is supposed to be done by the government, but the government was not doing it. I thought if I do it, then the conservation of the lake will happen in the system. That was my agenda, and to some extent I have succeeded. What is the thing? The wastewater treatment, the nature-based solution, rainwater harvesting, then creating water bodies and mini forest in the region, and environment education. That's a great weapon I am using to sensitize the youth. Now, you know Jakkur Lake, way back in 2005, surrounding Jakkur Lake, there were 25 wells were there. When I analyzed the water samples of all these lakes, all this lake water and the borewell sample, all of them had nitrate. Nitrate is a carcinogen which introduces cancer. Then we pushed the government to rejuvenate the lake. The government constituted a committee. I was a member of the committee. At the time they gave a money which I cannot remove the nutrient from that money. You know, they gave a small amount of money. I could have only secondary treatment. As you all know, the wastewater treatment has a 3 level, primary, secondary and tertiary treatment. Primary treatment will remove the large particle, secondary treatment will remove the chemical ion, tertiary treatment will remove the nutrient. Now here the nitrate is a nutrient problem. I have to have tertiary treatment, but I don't have the money. Then what I did was I convinced the committee members and the government to have a nature-based solution. I integrated constructive wetland and algal pond. And last 10 years this model we monitored, and you know, this report is available online. And 85% to 90% nutrient removal happens. Now today, surrounding Jakkur Lake, there are 300 wells are there. You go and analyze the water quality of 300 wells, you will not find any nitrate in that well water. Or if you find a time, you can go to that. There's some of you are staying in the campus, you will see that lake. If you are lucky, you will see my organism also otter in that. See, at one end I am saying Bengaluru is dying, at other end I am showing the pleasant picture of IISC campus, the thing. And you know that this otter is a voracious eater of fish like Keralites, but I don't feed fish to them. So what I noticed is they are happy. When we did a biodiversity mapping, I found that adequate number of fish is there in the lake along with the zooplankton. That means if you facilitate the ecosystem, nature knows how to create the food chain in the system. Okay, now when I meet people, I also convince them to have the nature-based solution. In Mudmitre, there was a water crisis. 2014-15. This said met me when I was in Bengaluru for my talk. He met me and said that I have a serious problem of water in the thing. I cannot solve as a said. I said the solution is simple. 32 lakes in Mudbidre, you rejuvenate it, you have solved the problem. He said, I cannot rejuvenate all the 32. I said, you do 2, remaining 30, I will get it done. As I predicted, 2 he did it and 30 were done by the local people. And after 4 years, last year, when entire Karnataka faced the green drought, Mudbidre didn't face the water crisis. That's because of the rejuvenation of the lake. That is the only solution. We need to go for the decentralized model of the water. Then seeing the success here, it is because of the youth of Alva Science and Engineering or involved. I saw the Alva CEO also quite young. I gave a medicine to have a water body in his campus which stores 25 lakh liters and also took up the planting of the native species. And when I visited next year with my student, you can see a smile on our face as well as greenery with abundant water in the region. And to put on the lighter side, this gentleman, when he met me, before constructing the lake, he was a bachelor. He was trying to get married, but unfortunately he was not getting a partner because unlike Bangaloreans who will search for the partners in the Facebook, all these faceless fellows, on the next month they will find the divorce paper. Whereas this gentleman, after doing this intervention, yeah, you can talk to me later, okay? So, he got a partner, wonderful partner who take care of the joint family. See, even when I go to their home, to their institution, she doesn't want me to stay in their guest house or in the hotel. Can it happen in Bangalore? When I go to somebody's house in Bangalore and knock at the door, they say that we are not at home. I do not know who is inside. Police should find out who is there inside. Okay. So then, the campus. This is a climber. I was fascinated by the architecture. I felt I should have it in my campus. I brought that seed. You know, this pod had 14 seeds. Out of that, 7 seeds I have kept in my lab. Other 7 seeds I have planted in 7 locations in the campus by my hand. Okay, out of 7. In only 1 location it has survived. This is next to our building where I work for 2 decades. That means even the plants know who will take care. People do not know whether their children will take care when they enter the stage, okay? So in front of this building, I created a mini forest in 2 hectares area. You know, 49 native species, 500 sapling were planted way back in 90s when I was a student. Today you come and see there, you get a feel of the rainforest and you will see, if you are lucky, you will see these slender lorries and varieties of the birds, etc. And more importantly, since all of you require water, the groundwater which was 150 feet earlier, today I have the water at 10 feet. If you want water, the next solution is to have a mini forest in each of your villages and corporation ward in Bangalore so that your water problem is also solved irrespective of the changes in climate. Okay, this is what I communicate to the wider section of the society. See, look at my audience full of the energy, the 3,000 to 4,000 youngsters listen to me. I offer a course in addition to my regular teaching. This I have done for the last 22 years in the continuing education, the course on environmental management. Now the next session is on September to December. Okay, that's how my feeling is. Once the people have the environmental knowledge, they become sensible. When they become sensible, they will be responsible. Otherwise, every fellow will say that why don't you solve the problem? Now they will shoulder the responsibility. Okay, that's what we do. Communicate to the wider section through the Lake Symposium once in 2 years. You know, from 98 I have been doing, the 14 editions I have done. The 15th one is due next year. The uniqueness of this event is not just 1,000 participants. You know, the school and college students form 30% of my audience. You know, they do the simple experiment like carbon sequestration or the water body monitoring, etc. So the children are trained, they do the experiment, they come and do the presentation. When the children attend 3 days, the knowledge, the enhancement happens. When they do the presentation concluding day, they become confident. That's how we have given the confident youngsters. Today they are professors in IITs and IISC, etc. You know, if you need more details, on YouTube you will get it, my 15-minute talk, and also in Kannada, other language. Sure, you all know what is GDP, gross domestic product, but not interested in security of people. We change the landscape from porous to the paved surface. Too much of concretization happened. I also said lakes are interconnected in Bangalore. You want to save the problem of Bangalore, the flood? the simplest thing is re-establish interconnectivity among the lakes. You have solved the problem. Remove all the encroachers. Whether Sarathi is sitting there or whether politician is sitting, just throw them out. You have solved the problem in R.R. Nagar and all the places in Bangalore. That is what is required. So we have mapped the hotspots and we know where all the problems. It is because of the elite section of the society who are greedy encroachers and the slum dwellers. We need to remove both of them without any mercy. If you do that, if you establish the interconnectivity among the lake, you have not just solved the flooding problem, you also have addressed the water quality problem. When the water starts moving from one lake to other, natural aeration happens, the treatment happens. So you have the better recreation also. So you can go safely to the lake, enjoy the lake with your children, but for that, what Bangalorean has to do it, or what doctors have to do it is, first make sure that Bangaloreans have spinal cord. Oh, you are there, okay.
I want to ask you a very simple question. You told me, that you have a primary treatment, secondary treatment, tertiary treatment, and where you wanted the funds, so for tertiary treatment it was not available, but somehow you managed with the alternate method. So what is the primary and the secondary and the tertiary treatment for these politicians who are involved in this, blocking this communication between the lakes? Because that's very important. You see, I have to have a solution in hand.
Sir, in your own words, let me try to answer your question. Primary treatment, as a doctor, you check whether the spinal cord exists or not, and then report to me. Then my problem is solved to some extent. Once I have people. Second is that, what is required is once the people have the environmental knowledge, they are sensitized, they understand this thing. Automatically secondary and tertiary treatment happens in the system. So otherwise you will never succeed. See, the lack of environmental knowledge in our system is the root cause of the problem. I did the study in Bangalore to find out how many people are environmentally literate. Can you guess what is the number? 3.5% of Bangaloreans are environmentally literate. That means 96% are Shatamurkas. Because of that, I have the solid waste problem, liquid waste problem, and all the problem, traffic problem in Bangalore. I do not want to use the public transport. I want to go alone in a four-wheeler, Innova car, all the way 20 kilometers from home to this one. So these are the problems. Unless people understand, we will not be able to solve. For that, good medicine is teach your child the environment. And the best thing is, teach your child to respect mother at home. Then the child will learn how to respect mother. The tertiary treatment happens.
And you get all the details in this portal. My contact ID is there. I do not use mobile because I was told by doctor it is hazardous to use. So, okay. And okay, thank you very much.